Hello, and welcome to another video. In this one, I have a mini haul of sorts. I picked up some Winsor & Newton ink from my local art supply store, and by local, I mean an hour away. And I grabbed these as a little treat for myself to celebrate the end of Inktober, and I know typically you buy your ink supplies before the month so you can be working with them throughout. But I've never been known to do things normally. The reason I picked these inks is twofold. I am familiar with the Winsor & Newton brand. I know that they are a well recognized and liked art supply brand, and two, these bottles are just so adorable. They are so tiny, and I feel they're the right shape for a feather quill, and I can put them on my writing desk and be all old-fashioned like that. And the art on them is really, really lovely. Lovely illustrations, but they are just so cute, and I know that that is not a reason to buy art supplies, is because you find them cute. But in addition to everything else, that was a bonus. Yes, and they come in these really lovely little boxes, and they have such gorgeous illustrations on them. I just want to have them like displayed and set out where I can always look at them. Keep collecting art supplies and not using them. Sounds like me. But today I'll be swatching them out, and I'm using the Milani glass dip pen that was featured in another video, I think my very first video, which is a lovely dip pen. It has a very pretty like drop design in it, and it handles really well. Other than that, it just seems like a nice glass dip pen. And I'm also using a brush that I've just had for a while. It is a size 8 round brush from Studio 71. I don't know much about that brand other than it is easily available where I live. It's very cheap, so nothing special. And I will be starting with explaining that that is my brother, who pops into most videos to show off some random goods. Today was his phone charger because he couldn't find anything else, and he could not leave me alone and uncontaminated, shall we say. But he's always dropping in, just to be a little annoying. We love him. But yeah, so the first ink I'm swatching out is the white Winsor & Newton ink. It is an acrylic base where the rest of them are alcohol inks. Now, I haven't used much acrylic ink, but from what I can tell, this one is significantly thinner than others. But it is not one you use. This ink says on the packet you do not use it in fountain pens or with any nib, like your nib tips. Brushes and glass tips are fine. It also requires vigorous shaking, and it is mildly translucent more than opaque. I don't hear a lot of people calling art supplies translucent, but I would say that it's definitely not transparent. As you can see here, it covers the fine liner significantly, but it is not opaque, as in it fully covers it. So translucent. I think, do they say semi-opaque or semi-transparent when the word translucent is right there? I may be wrong. I don't know. I'm still learning all this stuff. But it is a very nice one. It was the first one I picked up because I've never had a white ink before, and I was really curious about it. It was only later that I learned that it was acrylic, and I'm like, it does make sense. But the next thing I have is this lovely canary yellow. It is a warmer yellow and it's really, really pretty. I do tend to prefer my yellows on the warm side. I very much enjoy your warm buttery yellows and warm sunflower yellows, even your mustard yellows. Yes, I prefer warmer yellows, and this one is really, really pretty. I'm very glad I picked this one up. It was a toss-up whether I was going to get this one, and I am glad that I did. And as you can see, with the canary yellow compared to the white, it is definitely transparent. You can see those fine liner lines completely like as if they were the same as the ones uncovered. There is no real difference. And this one here is another really gorgeous color, but not the color I was expecting. This one is crimson. On the like color swatch, it appeared much more red, though it was a digital swatch, and you've always got to be wary with those things. They never quite come out the way you expect, but they are really, it's a really, really pretty color, but it is definitely a pink, I would say, and not a red. I wouldn't even say it's a pinky red. It feels definitely like a warm pink, maybe even just shy of magenta, but it is a really, really pretty color, and I'm definitely glad I grabbed that one too. I am also extremely glad that I grabbed this violet. My color choices were very much a whim, what I liked the look of, and also a little swayed by the images on the packet. To a degree, I found them very pretty to look at, but this violet is a striking color, very much like true violet, I would say, and it is a gorgeous purple. I do think purple is an important color to grab. I find it very hard to mix a purple, even if I have like a good set of primary colors, and so a convenience purple is always handy to have in my books. I have grown to really love purple more since starting this channel and discovering how difficult it can be to get a purple. But the last color I grabbed is this gorgeous Viridian. It's a very blue-green color, and it is gorgeous. I really love it. I love doing the little sketch that I'll do in a bit. I loved coloring that with this color. It's not a true green or a true blue, which I think if I was going to get more of these, I would probably get a blue. Just I think it would lend itself to mixing a bit better. And these two mix fairly well together. I found these inks do. But I haven't tested all the mixes yet, and that might be something I do down the line if you are interested. I enjoyed working with these, and I am hoping to work with them on different surfaces. And as you can see here, this is the white on black paper, completely dry, and it is very translucent, but I think it'll make like a good add to any sort of white drawings I want to do on the black paper, and it will give it that sort of shaded effect. But on this cream paper, and now dry, these are the best representations of the colors that I can get. They're a little off on the screen to how they look in real life, but that is unfortunately can't be avoided. And I'm going to do a little painting of an illustration. I have some brushes. They're small flat, small round, and small angled. I don't know what brand they are. I've just had them for a while. And I'm also using some Speedball black ink just to make up the lack of, well, black. I didn't grab the black Winsor & Newton ink just because I have other black inks and I didn't really want to buy something that I already sort of had. I may down the line, but I found the Speedball very good to use with these, and I have no qualms about mixing these with other other inks as I go. But I'm just coloring here a sketch I did of a witch. I thought I would celebrate Halloween a little. It's not super huge here in Australia, but it is growing in popularity, and it's such a fun holiday. So I have a bit of a sexy witch, and I felt the colours really lended themselves well to a witch. The viridian and the violet and the magenta I felt could make a really nice modern witch, and I do think it worked out pretty well. But I haven't illustrated with ink in this way in a really long time. I've been doing a little marker stuff lately, and colored pencil stuff. I haven't really been showing that on camera, but they're less messy mediums. You have your markers and your pencils and it's all right there, and you don't need to worry about spilling anything or having other things you need to apply it, a la brushes or a mixing bowl or a mixing palette. A mixing bowl. But yes, I was a bit nervous about this. I think it turned out pretty well. I haven't done anything like this really for several years now, and just playing around with this. This whole journey is an experiment to push myself and to get back into the art that I really loved. And by recording it, I'm able to see what I'm doing now and compare myself to where I'll be in a few months or years, and I'll be able to see it and see my process, which I think is the important part of filming pieces like this. So I can see how I've changed, not just how the finished piece looks, but the techniques I know how to use, and that sort of development. And I think it'll be important to see how I grow and to keep myself motivated, as I am someone who notoriously loses motivation for things. And I'm just really hoping to stick with this, and just keep messing around with this creative journey that I'm enjoying so much so far. But something I found really interesting, I was a little concerned with mixing the white ink with the others because it is a different medium, was that the consistency might be too different. It might be strange. And while the skin color that I've created is significantly more opaque, it kind of works in this particular illustration because skin is opaque, significantly more than other things. I suppose there is some translucency in skin, you can see the veins through it and the like, but compared to hair, which is like a collection of things together and can be quite transparent depending on how it is, and clothing, which can range, I think it kind of works in its favor. And thinking about it, if I ever was doing something like this again and I was worried about the different consistencies, it would be very easy to mix just a little bit of white with everything to get that thicker consistency, and then layer the richer color over the top once you have that opacity to do the shading. Kind of like I'm doing now, but the base layer would be more opaque, and that is what I love about ink so much, is that you can layer like this, and it works really well, which is something you can't do with watercolor, which obviously ink and watercolor do fit a similar style, but how you can manipulate them is where it really changes. And I do love watercolor as well for different reasons, but what I love about ink is how steady it is. It does make fixing mistakes a little harder, but in the famous words of Bob Ross, there are no mistakes, just happy accidents, and we've all just got to roll with that, I think. The paper I'm working on claims to be watercolor paper. It is by typo, but it had no words of its makeup. I have had this paper for a really long time, which is why I'm using it up. But I would not recommend it. I would not recommend typo watercolor paper. I personally won't be buying any more typo supplies. I don't think they are the best. But I think that they can be really good to start with, but maybe not their watercolor paper. This here is the skin color that I made the previous night, and it is almost darkened in a way, which is kind of cool. It definitely works to add shading, but other than that, it kept really well. I wrapped it in Glad wrap in the container that it's in, and it didn't really dry up at all, except obviously around the edges where it was very not a lot of liquid is what I'm trying to say, if I can speak properly. But I think it worked really well. I probably wouldn't leave it for much longer than overnight because there was some sediment starting to form. But other than that, it was really, really good. I really, really enjoyed creating this piece, and it was a really good challenge, and I think it's so important to challenge ourselves. And I don't know if we do it enough, or I definitely don't, though I am a lot these days. But I found this really fun working with these inks. I'm so glad I got them, and I hope that this little review might help you. And if it doesn't, maybe it will inspire you to create something. Do a little Halloween drawing, draw your own sexy witch. I'm just lining with the dip pen, which was actually really cool. It's a little bit difficult to use the dip pen, I found, in ways because the ink seems to like stick to one side and you keep having to twirl it around in your hand, but I think that's a user issue, and once I get more used to it, I will figure it out. But I really enjoyed this, and I'm very proud of it, and I can't wait to see what I sort of create in the future and look back on this and see how it changes. But that's pretty much it for this video. I hope you enjoyed. I hope maybe you learned something, and maybe you too have Winsor & Newton ink, and you can let me know what you think about it, or if you have inks you prefer. But that'll be all for this one, guys. I am really looking forward to seeing you in the next one if I'm lucky. I'm really looking forward to hearing your thoughts. My next video is actually a much larger haul video, so if you're interested in hauls, follow me for that. That'll be out later this week. It is already filmed. I'm just trying to stagger my videos and keep on top of everything. But that's all. Thank you. Bye-bye.